No matter what you do, you find it really hard to feel beautiful and to feel enough when you look at yourself in the mirror. This is something I have personally dealt with for many, many years, a subject that I think a lot of people kind of either feel embarrassed by or they feel like it's stupid and it's really something we shouldn't care about because it's quote unquote surface. But I want to talk about beauty and self-image and the way we look at ourselves and comparing ourselves to others and feeling good in your body. Because yes, the truth is this is all going to invite you into a deeper process, but it doesn't mean that it deserves no stage time. When I look back at the last 10 years of my life, every single moment of my up leveling and stepping into more of the version that I personally want to be in my own life has incorporated the body. And I noticed with each new level I was hitting, I experienced more peace in my body. What that showed me is that this conversation is really important and we shouldn't shy away from it. I really believe to get into a better place with your body image and self-love, it really is each person's own individual journey to go down. But I think when we share stories, we see that we are more alike than not. And so that's my hope in sharing this with you. I'm 33 now, but 23-year-old Jessie, she had a lot going on and there was a lot of things that she had to learn, unfortunately, the hard way. I had just gone out of college. I'm in corporate for the first time, feeling like a huge imposter. I just know that any moment they're going to figure me out and they're going to let me go because they're going to be like, she doesn't know what she's doing. Funny enough though, I was actually doing really well in that job. I was getting awarded things left and right, but every day I would go home and be like, oh my God, I hope I don't lose this job. Oh my God, I hope they don't catch me. The fact that I'm just guessing this whole time. On the outside, it seemed like I was doing fine, but inside, I literally was fighting for my life. That was my foundation of what I was operating under. And so it makes sense looking back how my external really mirrored that. It's not about weight, but knowing how I feel now, I see how my entire 20s, I was carrying a lot of extra stuff around and weight was really symbolic for mindset, stress, anxiety, beliefs, the heaviness in which I looked at the world. I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am now. And the weird part is I didn't even realize it because it just gradually happened over time because of the habits that I had. I really haven't shared this with many people and maybe why I'm so passionate about body and health and caring about it in a more holistic way. But throughout college, I had an eating disorder. I was bulimic and I would never have classified myself as having an ED because in my mind I was functioning. Like I could control myself around food in the sense of when I was with people, I wouldn't let them see me binging and eating all the junk and stuff that I would eat when nobody was around or when I was just in my room. This sounds really bad to say, but like if I needed to, I could not eat for a long period of time. And then when I finally did eat, I would binge like crazy. I didn't realize how much food was consuming my mind and just in this really unhealthy relationship with it. So between the starving myself, binging, purging, my sugar addiction, I was addicted to chocolate and ice cream and just anything sweet, not realizing that underneath that, I was actually just craving sweetness for life and was numbing that lack with sugar and sweet things and all the things that I wanted in the now. So there's a lot to unpack there, but past that, I had really bad skin. I was inflamed all the time and my face just always hurt. I actually did 2 rounds of Accutane and it didn't even really work, which was annoying because I kept being told, oh, it works for everybody, and it did not work for me. In fact, it actually caused a lot of pain that I had to deal with in my kidneys for years. So we're all good now, but that was a hot mess. To top it all off, I was always trying to be super tan. Like I was always either putting fake tanners on myself or I'd go to tanning beds and professional spray tans done. And I just was doing anything to keep myself from feeling like pasty white, except for going in the sun, building it gradually. I was very instant gratification, need everything right now in the moment, don't want to work for it. Looking back over the last 10 years and realizing, oh my gosh, there's a pattern I never really understood before. Everything around my body image, food, the way I saw myself, all of it was instant gratification focused. I didn't want to sacrifice anything. I wanted to just have it immediately with no repercussions. I want to be skinny now. I don't want to have to work out or work hard for it, not eat the things I want to eat, so I'm just going to purge. I mean, I was just battling this my entire 20s. I felt so lost and confused and like, what's wrong with me? But at the same time, so disconnected from myself, so much I couldn't see or understand. I was battling uphill all the time and I never really felt good in my body. If any of this is resonating with you, I hope you can see you're not alone, you're not crazy, and you're not stuck where you are. All of this gets to be temporary. You get to change it, but there's some things we're going to dive into in a little bit around how you actually do that and how you can create lasting change. So we'll get there, but let's continue on. For me, a big shift happened when I was, I believe, 29. One day I was just getting ready and I collapsed on the ground and I had to get rushed to the ER and I had no idea what was going on. We did everything. I mean, literally everything I could do at the time I did. So I did brain scans, CT scan, pap smears, multiple ultrasounds, x-rays, tons and tons of blood work, like everything I could think of we did, and everything came back normal. Nobody found a thing. But I knew I wasn't crazy. It led me down this elongated journey of just trying to get answers. Basically, my body was starting to react to all the damage I had been doing to it for 10 plus years at that point. So that was a huge turning point for me. I want to share this message because I don't want people to have their world completely fall in and crash on them before they make changes. Because if I look back at this, I know that years prior, my body was speaking to me and I was ignoring it. Like, oh, I'm just allergic to everything. That's just normal. That's me. I just can't eat any of that stuff. But that's just my body. As much as me collapsing on the ground was terrifying and one of the scariest experiences of my entire life, it's also the day I feel like I got my life back. In the end, all of that turned out to be I needed to fix my gut health, and that's what I'm learning is fixing your gut health is not an overnight thing. It's a lot of patience with yourself in the process, living and moving from that space. Okay, so if you've made it this far in the video, you're probably wondering, okay, well great, I understand the importance of loving my body, but how do I actually change my mindset around my body image and actually begin to look at it different to where I can actually love myself for real? Like, how do I fully come to accept and love being in my body? So there was one specific mindset that shifted the game for me that really helped me take the action steps to do this. And then from there was 5 specific things that I played with that I want to give you today that you can try out on your own and start your own journey with as well. I did get to a breaking point, right? We got to a pretty extreme in the journey here, but also I had had enough. Like, I had had enough of my entire 20s and maybe even before that, feeling lesser than in my body, constantly wishing I was somebody else. Like, I got so sick of that I was ready to change. I noticed that when I do personal development, I really try to pay attention to what was that pivot moment somebody had in their own journey. What really got them to change? Pretty much every person's journey, they talk about how they just finally started taking the thing seriously. So let's say they wanted to up level in their career. They finally decided, you know what? I'm making this happen for myself. So they put all of their energy and their focus towards that goal. Or maybe they were finally ready to settle down with somebody, get married and have kids or whatever. They did the same thing. They were like, this is happening for me. I'm decided this is what I want. No questions asked anymore. This is what I'm choosing for my life. They stopped treating it like a hobby and they go all in. So that's what I started doing is I said, you know what if I started taking my body seriously? I stopped filling it with junk, instant gratifications, quick air quotes solutions. And I started to define what beauty really meant to me and what would be nice to have in that reality. And yes, although this mindset was, okay, I'm ready to take myself serious, I also wanted to have fun in the process because I didn't want to build a foundation of this new version of me in kind of a drudgery way. I know that kind of sounds a little bit confusing. Like, how do I take myself serious but not be so serious and like uptight about the process? But part of that is understanding that's not going to happen in a day. This is something I decided a couple of years ago and I'm still working towards that version of me, but she's showing up a little bit at a time. I'm seeing more and more glimpses of like, wow, I'm really becoming her. That vision I had in my mind a few years ago, a lot of her is here already, which is really great. It feels amazing and it happens sooner than you would think. The first action item I want to give you is along those lines of play. What I started doing was I started realizing, okay, so if where I am is not necessarily where I want to be, then I got to change some things up. So I gave myself permission to start changing out my skincare, my style, my makeup. What would the next version of me want to play with, want to look like? And now this doesn't mean you have to have, $1 million budget to completely restyle yourself. And it also doesn't mean you have to be an expert stylist by any means either. Like, that's not my skill set. This was all new to me. But I started getting inspiration from Pinterest or Instagram or noticing people around me in my world. Like, maybe the women just seemed really classy or they just seemed to really embody elements that I wanted to call in for my own self. And I just made note of those things, not to copy, but to realize I didn't know what I didn't know. And I just started opening my eyes to what's out there that I could start playing with. I got rid of all my junky skincare and I started investing investing in nice products, which took me to actually mostly Asian skincare. So I was diving into things like Obagi, and then I found this app called Olive Young, and I will link it below. But that is really fun because you can get products from like South Korea and I think just all over Asia, and they can ship it to the US, and it's actually really high quality products. So you don't have to deal with US products and all the chemicals and stuff in them. So I started playing with that. I started getting serious about what I was putting in my body. I started researching the latest things in science, understanding what's out there that maybe the average person isn't talking about, which led me to finding things like resveratrol, NMN. Dr. David Sinclair in his podcast talks about this, which I will also link below for you to check out because it's amazing. It's called Lifespan. I noticed when I was taking care to research things and not just reach for the latest and greatest thing that everybody's talking about, but going from my own instinct, choosing the things that I felt aligned with, started to up the way I saw myself because I was feeling more empowered in my decisions. And it was awesome to see the things that I was choosing actually working. So there was that. But then when it came to like the clothing and the style, see, that's something I'm still working on. But I started getting rid of things I didn't even realize I was attached to, or items in my closet I had for years that were really, I wasn't wearing them, or I didn't love them, or they just seemed like obligation pieces. I was like, if there's anything that's obligation, I'm getting rid of it. I'm just clearing out space. From there, I committed to only purchasing from brands that I really respected, I liked the energy of, and I wanted to support, or just overall higher quality pieces. My goal in this is to make it so that everything in my closet feels like an extension of me and how I want to express myself and be seen in the world. You can see that's so much more intentional than just like fast fashion or filling voids with shopping. It's aligning your choices to who you say you want to be. What I found is that it didn't just stop at clothing and skincare, but it also stemmed into all of my relationships, my business decisions, the way I structured and organized my days and my weeks. It all started to enhance and change simply because I started living with more intention. So that was kind of long-winded, but I wanted to make sure I covered all of that so you really know how to move and where to go. So the second thing I did was I started doing photo shoots. What was cool is that as I started choosing more of this version of myself, opportunities started coming in. I'd never had photo shoots coming in like this in my world, but suddenly these opportunities were getting presented, whether it was my friends who randomly had clothing brands that they wanted me to do some shoots for, or my friends were getting into photography and they wanted me to help build their portfolio, or the pole studio that I was part of, they were doing boudoir shoots and they were offering those out for discounted prices. I was just saying yes to these things. I didn't realize how much in the journey of not loving my body, how much I actually was avoiding looking at it. And that's why I was really disconnected. I remember I had a reunion with some friends years after college and they were like, wow, Jessie, you look like you've lost some weight. Like you look really good. And they're like, you used to be our sexy thick friend. And I'm like, what? Like I never even knew that. I had no concept of that. In my mind, I was not big, and not that like that matters, but seeing how I feel now and the frame that my body is in now, like I was big for my frame. But anyways, I just wasn't looking at myself. I wasn't seeing my body, and it was like I was avoiding it and not even realizing it. So during these photo shoots, I was really uncomfortable at first. Then they would show me the shots as we're doing the shoot and they were like hyping me up. It was really hard for me to look at it because I'd been so used to anytime I did see myself, it was judgment and criticism. But this really allowed me to look at myself and force myself to find things I liked, forced me to get out of the comfort zone of judging myself and looking at it with new eyes and saying, I do actually think I'm beautiful. I do actually like what I'm seeing. It was a really cool way to switch my habits and to shift my lens in which I was looking at myself. You don't have to necessarily do all these bougie like photo shoots and boudoir shoots and things to have the same effect. You could just take your camera and shoot some pictures of yourself around town, or set your timer up, grab some shots of yourself, or ask your friend or your boyfriend to just take some pictures of you. But over time, what you'll see, you will begin to look at yourself different because you'll start seeing yourself with new eyes that you weren't choosing to use before. So that was surprisingly one of the most empowering things I've ever done for myself. And to this day, I will randomly book shoots so that I can get back into my power if I'm like, you know what, I need to see myself again, or I need to shake up my world a bit. And along with that is this idea of mirror work. Now, if you've never heard of it, I recommend looking up Louise Hay on YouTube. She's amazing. She's really the godmother of this. And when she was alive, she preached mirror work all the time. Her mirror work are these really nice in-depth exercises. Take about 10 or so minutes to just look at yourself in the mirror, looking at your pupils and letting whatever emotions need to come to the surface, letting them rise, and then sitting with those. Or saying affirmations as you look at yourself to just really build this new relationship with you and who you see in the mirror. To make it simpler, something I was doing is as I was getting ready, I stopped looking at all the parts of me that I was putting makeup on, and I actually started looking at myself in my eyes, like looking directly at myself and acknowledging the person standing back at doing finger guns in the mirror, like, hey, I see you. Or before I would leave the mirror, I would wave to myself, say bye, I love you, just making it really simple. But these little check-ins in the mirror to actually show I'm on my own team, I see you, and no matter what happens to yourself today in the world, you are loved, you are acknowledged, and I've got you. That's really what mirror work says. So I want to encourage you to dive into that. I'll put links to Louise Hay down below in the description, but you don't have to do those processes to get the benefits. It's really about seeing yourself. I've done it as I'm walking down the street and I decide to look at myself and acknowledge myself in the reflection of a window. It's super simple. Look at myself and smile because I have this connection with myself now that I didn't before. The fourth thing I did was actually really, really sweet, I feel. So I took a little kid picture of myself from when I was a baby, and I put that picture where I could have it with me all the time. It started out in my wallet. I felt like I had the essence of little kid me in there, but then eventually it shifted to I brought that picture to my desk so I could have it with me while I'm working. And then I eventually took a picture of that picture and I put it on the wallpaper of my phone. And the reason I did that is because I started really cluing into the fact that every time I'm mean to myself or saying mean things or judging myself, I'm actually judging her. Our little kid self, they never go away. They're always with us. And I will say I had it on my phone for about a month just so that I could get that consistent rhythm in my mind. And then after that, it became much more of a habit. And I will tell you what, having that picture around me really jolted me and oftentimes was helpful to snap me back into a perspective of why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I love myself. I'm doing this because I matter. I'm doing this because I'm breaking the pattern that I've had for so much of my life of not loving myself and not getting the results I most desire. I'm doing this because me and that little version of me, we deserve more, we deserve better. I'm not going to give up on myself. That was really huge for me. And the fifth thing that I did is I stopped making myself a joke in conversations to make other people comfortable. A few examples of this, somebody else might be talking about, oh my gosh, I'm struggling with this thing. And even if I wasn't, I'd be like, oh yeah, I totally get that. Like you're not alone. It is hard, even though I didn't feel like that. Or I'd be like, God, I'm so annoying. Why am I like this? I'm so dumb sometimes. And even though I'm not actually saying that because I mean that, I'm just saying that because it's just a joke. Words carry weight, and it is important to know that every time you speak, you are planting seeds. If you say things like this enough about yourself, before you know it, that is your autopilot. That is the mindset you carry about yourself. It's the way you see yourself. All of your actions are going to follow suit based off the things that you're saying and speaking. Unfortunately, patterns like that are really normal. It feels normal to joke about ourselves in these kinds of ways because it's the programming we grew up in and were born into. Breaking that specific habit does take time. It takes a lot of awkward moments and pauses of stopping yourself when you catch yourself. But the good thing is bringing consciousness into it can forever change the game. All you need to do is have a new awareness and then you can make moves from there. I started to notice that when I made a point to only speak kind things about myself, my confidence did shift. The way I looked at myself did shift, and it made it easier to see myself with more loving eyes because now I had standards in ways I didn't before. I wasn't just a free-for-all in a punching bag to make other people feel comfortable. I now am a high-valued woman who requires a different level of words and energy to circulate in her world. So what starts as seemingly no big deal, you really see how big of a deal it actually is because it's what creates muscle memory over time and expectations and standards and what you feel like you deserve, and that will trickle into every other area of your life. I'm telling you, my dating world changed, my friend circles, my career, all of it for the better. My environment, everything leveled up because I leveled up internally within myself. So I have a lot of videos that go deep into that. So you can check out my channel if you want to go deeper into, like I said, self-worth. But just know when you dive into seeing yourself different with new eyes and loving your body and giving yourself an opportunity to appreciate the vessel that you have is powerful stuff. I saw this beautiful story recently, and it was this girl girl saying, why couldn't you have made me look like them? Why couldn't you have made me more like them? In the story, God chimes in and is like, you see the sea over here and the mountains over here, the abundance over here, and it's just showing beautiful scenes of nature. He said, it took me seconds to make those. He said, you, my dear, there's only one of you ever to exist and that ever will exist. You have been finely crafted for your specific purpose and mission and journey that only you can go down. You are one of one. There's nothing else like you. So when I heard that, it just really moved me to appreciate my own self a little bit more and to realize how special we all really are, and how when we can move ourselves from the lens of the seemingly important things, but we know that they're just small things that really don't matter in the long run, we find that we start to replace it with what matters most, which is gratitude and love. And before you know it, the external things start to shift anyways, because you become in alignment with truly who you're meant to be in this world. And it's a different glow. And that glow looks different for everybody, but I want you to be able to tap into yours this lifetime. If you enjoy that conversation, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel and join in, as I'll be creating more content like this every single week. And if you want to go deeper into the topic of confidence, I have made sure to include one of my recent videos up here that's going to really help you let go of caring about what other people think as you step deeper into your own self-love journey and self-worth. I hope you'll take a look at that, enjoy it, and in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to own your power.